Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Enough. So glad to have you all back with us and to join another discussion. It's funny, it feels like Sav and I haven't, recorded one of these things in forever. So, before we hit record, we're both like, oh my gosh, it's like, a little shaky, don't know what we're doing. But, we're glad to be back. Today, we're going to be kind of focusing on the topic, if it's not for God, is it for good? And so we'll kind of be discussing what we think, being good is, can we do good without it being kind of in the sphere of God in a sense? Can you do good outside the church and kind of go through that? So we're going to share some quotes from the fathers, some very practical things we can do as Christians to help our daily Christian life and just, have a fun discussion. So I guess, Stav, do we maybe want to start it off with looking at what is good or what is doing good?
Yeah, I think a big thing about like doing good things and what people kind of look at as doing good things is like they get carried away with, okay, it's this specific thing is like helping another person, you're doing a good thing. But if you're not helping that person out of the kindness of your heart, if you're kind of just like helping them for your own personal gain, I wouldn't say that's good. So there's a lot of like levels to what doing good is. But I do think when you kind of focus on God and have this strong relationship with God and you are doing things for him and you're going out of your way to do things and you don't even like think about it anymore. It's just natural right. Things you do. Then I think that is doing good in the name of God. And I think what a lot of time what happens is people who maybe don't believe in God, aren't Orthodox Christians, that kind of thing, they think, oh, because I don't believe in God, people don't think I'm a good person, all that. But they could be doing the most Orthodox thing, they could be living the most Orthodox life, and they don't even know it. So I don't know, I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at doing good for people and doing good for yourself as well and for your relationship with God. But I don't know, I think you can look at it a lot of different ways.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think what you say is true. It's almost too broad of a word or something to even really, beside defined in a short episode like this. But I think something you said rings some truth to it. I think you started off saying, if you're doing it for personal gain, then it's not actually doing good. Like it may be a good act, it might help someone, but if you're only doing it with the intent of receiving something or, having people look at you, in a positive way, that's probably not good. And so I think maybe for our purposes, we could define good as a what you're saying in the second half, like acting in a way that is worthy of God, that you're not even like knowing what you're doing is good. I think like somewhere in scripture, I'm sorry, I don't have the verse, but it's like, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, something like that. It's like you shouldn't be acting just for people's opinions or people's views, if that makes sense. Yeah, kind of reiterating 100%. Your point. Yeah
100%. And I think like another little topic of this is even doing good like in your own lives, respecting your parents, all that stuff, doing good things socially. And another like big thing I think is kids not getting caught off guard with, okay, I need to make sure I'm doing everything good. Like, no, it's very good and healthy, especially to make mistakes in your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes people and makes individuals even stronger with things they deal with. And what's nice about God is like, if you have him with you and you are trying to do good in your life and you just stumble sometimes and you make a mistake, having God there with you just helps it even more to like get back on that right path and make sure, okay, I did something wrong, I did something bad, how can I change it, how can I make sure like I'm not going to do it again? So I think I think kids, especially our age, because I've done that a lot, where I'll do something and I've done my fair share, I'll put it out there, I've done my fair share of bad things. But I've felt in past times where like, okay, I feel like a terrible person, people are going to judge me as a terrible person, But if I know in my own heart that I'm trying to at least live in like the right path, have God in my life, have that
Mhm,
relationship with him, then I think that's what affects people to start doing better and doing good in their lives.
mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah. I like that. It's what you're saying resonated with me a lot in I think it was last week or something on the Instagram at Orthodoxy Daily, which if you're not following, you should go follow. We post a lot of fun content on there. Um, but we made a post and it was I think it was either a quote, but yeah, it was a quote by Father Thomas Hopko, and it was like it was basically, to say you're an Orthodox and you're a Christian, you have to act as if you're nothing, as if you're like you're broken and you need to be put back together. And basically, what we were saying in that post is like, and we wrote it up in the description. You go read it. But the church is a place for the sinners, for the broken, for those who are hurting. It's not for the perfect. And so I like what you're saying, Sav. It's not that we act in a godly way so that everything we do can be good, but we act hopefully in a godly way so that when we fall, we can realize that we did wrong, and so we're not just constantly hurting people. If that makes sense.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of going again with Father Thomas Hopko. Um, he write well. First off, if you don't know who Father Thomas Hopko is, he was a priest in the Orthodox Church. He lived in America. He died fairly recently, I think, in the last 20 years. Just a
Yeah.
very incredible writer and speaker. So I would encourage you guys to go either pick up one of his books or listen to one of his talks. You can find on
Died
Ancient Faith
only
Radio.
6 years ago.
What was that?
6 years ago.
6 years ago he died.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just an incredible guy. And while he was alive, he wrote out what are called his 55 maxims, or 55 ways that you can do better in your Christian walk, your Christian life. And so what we're going to be doing over the next little bit on our Instagram, another little plug at Orthodoxy Daily, is we're going to be explaining these 55 maxims in little digestible ways. Because they're just digestible ways to live the Christian life. But as I was looking over these, I was like, you know what? Some of these really tell us how to be good Christians and how to do good things. And so I'm going to read off 5 of his maxims. And so these are maxims 40 through 45. And so they start with, or 40 is, don't seek or expect pity or praise. Don't compare yourself with anyone. Don't judge anyone for anything. Don't try to convince anyone of anything. Don't defend or justify yourself. And lastly, be defined and bound by God, not people. And I think these really just kind of emphasize what Sav and I were trying to articulate this last little bit. But it's like, we have to first off be defined and bound by God. And then that's enough, really, right? Like God is enough. So if we can do that, then everything else will work out. But those first 4, it's like those are things we struggle with as humans all the time. Like, how do I act and not want people to see what I'm doing if it's a good thing? Like us, especially Sav, and the things we're doing. It's like, we want people to see the hopefully good work we're doing to spread the churches. But sometimes we can get caught up on that. Oh, how many views or likes? Okay, well, if it didn't get that many likes, maybe we shouldn't do it, kind of thing. But it's really tough to not fall into these things.
100%. I think, you know, you'd hate bringing it up, but like social media, it makes everything, if you really break it down, if you really want to look at it, it makes everything worse. But because these things, like, you can make social media platforms making you look like
Right.
the person you're really not. You can text someone the way that maybe you don't even know how to talk like that. Because like
Right.
I've experienced people who text me, then I'll meet them in person. It's like, all right.
Right.
It's just so like, I think it's even harder nowadays to really keep yourself from doing those things. And obviously we're going to fall, like
Mhm.
we're going to fall into these things. And I think just remembering to tell yourself that like you are a good person. If you fall, do one little bad thing, you're not a bad person, like, at all. So I think remembering that like God is there with you. You can talk to him if
Mhm.
you're struggling with these um and I think that one big one that I really like from that is don't try to convince anyone of anything, which goes
Yeah.
along with the which goes along with the like social media platforms, all that. But like also what I first said is when like you're showing yourself as maybe helping out people, you know, having this like great life. But if that's not who you are inside, and if you're just doing it for yourself, then I think that's one of the biggest downfalls for a person.
It's pretty detrimental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those five are actually really, really important. 100%.
Yeah, I like that last point you said, don't try to convince anyone of anything. And then it's like when you're trying to convince people, you're only hurting yourself because that's not who you are. And I think that's one of the greatest reasons I love our faith and our God. It's because we don't have to be the creator of everything. We don't have to be in charge of everything. Like when we're broken, when we're hurting, when we're in pain, even when we're in good times, like all we have to realize is that we're just trying to do it for God. We're not trying to do it for ourselves. And to me, that takes off a lot of stress. And like that helps me be good, because I know that like nothing I do is for my own self, right?
Yeah.
Sure, I have to do tasks to keep me alive. I have to eat, I have to, drink water, stuff like that. I have to do the little tasks in life that are just a part of it. But in the big things, the big decisions in my life, and what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to help these people? If I can just say, let me help them, that like God helped me, then that's enough, because that's what we're doing it for. We're doing it so that we can live in the kingdom with God,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think another like one, I read some, maybe it was a video, or I think I read some the other day. It was talking about like people who are struggling with doing like bad things, are struggling with getting over doing bad things,
Mm-hmm.
or struggling with themselves, like dealing with themselves as a person. I read this thing, it was really cool. It was like God wants his battle back. So like it's like you don't want to be like, you aren't supposed to be dealing with these things yourself. Like he wants to help you, and he wants his, like, it's not your own individual battle, like he wants it back.
Right.
I thought it was like really cool. It took me a little to like think about it, and I was like, okay, wow, that's super interesting.
I like that. Yeah, that reminds me of something. I was at this young adult forum at our church, and the priest towards the end was I forgot what the question was, but the answer was, God gave us everything and created us in every way except to do, or let's see, how do I want to first? God gave us everything except one thing, right? He didn't give us suffering. We chose suffering. So that's almost the greatest gift, because it's the one thing that we can actually give back to God. We can suffer for God, and we give it back to him. And it's, we're giving something he didn't give us. So it's, I don't know, to me, that's really beautiful, because God gives us everything, right? Like in the liturgy, either during or right after the consecration, I think it's right before the consecration, the priest like raises the chalice and the paten with the bread and said, these gifts from your own gifts. Like even what becomes the body and blood of Christ, we can't give God, because he gave it to us first, right? So it's like the only thing we can give is our suffering. And that makes it so much more exciting to like fight that next battle in your life, to overcome this next passion. And so it's really cool. And I think we're kind of narrowing in on what this idea of being good is. It's really just struggling for God, and like, in what comes out of that is the good. That's like the product. Like good is the product, struggling is the process, in a sense. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And I want to share this one quote, because I really like it. We have like a long list of quotes. We have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And we're not going to bore you all with them. But one of them is really good, and it's from St. John of Damascus. And I want to read this because I think it really just, honestly, this podcast episode could have just been this one quote, but that'd be lame. Then you couldn't hear us banter back and forth with each other, right? So St. John of Damascus says this. He says, come now, my brethren, all who have received the name of faith, who have been deemed worthy to be called people of Christ. Do not put aside our calling. Let us not violate our faith through improper works. It is not enough for someone merely to be known as a believer. So let us show our faith through works. To me, that blew my mind. I don't know, Steph, maybe you got some words to say about that, but.
No, I mean, that last line, like, it is not enough for someone merely to be known as a believer. So let us show our faith through works is kind of like, okay, like show that you need to show that you are a Christian, that you're walking in the walk, and you are doing what you're walking the walk and like talking the talk.
Yeah.
Sounds cheesy, but I mean, it's if you want to break it down, that's really what it is. And like, I think, that's a beautiful verse.
Yeah.
But
And I think you point out that last line. And I just want to add something to it. I think this is the most crucial thing as young adults in our society right now. As Orthodox Christians, it's so hard to live an Orthodox life because we don't have people showing us how to do it. Some of us are blessed with really great priests that are showing us and how to live the life. Some of us are blessed with really great parents and great mentors, but we don't often see other young adults living the life of Christ and like showing us through their works, you know? And I think if we could all do this, if we could all just say, you know what, today I'm going to actually live like an Orthodox Christian, we could like, the world would be a different place.
we would live in a lot better place.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe we'd face more struggles, but we'd have so much more joy because it's all for the glory of God. Right. And that's what the martyrs did. They endured just being killed because they knew what was to come. And so if we could all just live the life, walk the walk, man, that'd be a place to be, wouldn't it be?
Oh, yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, doing good. I think to kind of answer the question that we kind of had at the beginning, can you do good if it's without God? In my opinion, and that's not much of an opinion, I'm no expert on anything, but I don't think you can. I think, you know, I think we've kind of touched on it. Maybe we didn't do the greatest job, but I think especially through this quote of St. John Damascus, it kind of answers that. I don't think you can really do good if it's not for God. You know, if God created all of us, gave us the path to live, gave us the earth, gave us the chance of redemption, then if we're not if we're not acting in a way glorifying to the kingdom, I don't think it is good. And so maybe you disagree. That's just my opinion, but I don't know.
No, I think, you know, you look at kind of relevant or pretty prominent people in the history. You look at people who failed, people who've succeeded. They weren't like the people who have failed. We're all doing it. We're all about themselves. We're all about what they could control and what they had power over. And I think as you see the people who succeed, like businessmen, all of that, they're doing it sometimes for other people, and they might not even be a Christian, like I said earlier, but they are still trying, or they're still doing good for other people.
Yeah.
They just don't realize it, and they haven't been introduced to that faith yet, which is sad. But I think if you're not doing good for others or for God or with God in your heart, then no, I don't think you would be doing things for good. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
No, I like what you said too, because I think you're right. You know, it's I forget sometimes we're not all Orthodox, right? I tend to live in my little Orthodox bubble, but I think you're right. Some people don't know. Some people don't know the gospel, and so I think some people can be truly godly people, and they just haven't met God yet, right? And so, yeah, you're right. But I think you're right. It has to be selfless. It has to be for your neighbor, for your brothers and sisters, 100%. And as Orthodox Christians, then it does have to be for God. I feel like, you know, but let us know what you guys think in the comments. If you guys agree, if you disagree, you know, we're not saying this as fact. We're just two dudes having a conversation and hit record. But with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I hope you all are living good with God, right? So with that, just remember, God is enough. Make sure to that like button, subscribe, and follow us on Orthodoxy Daily on Instagram if you have not. And have a good week, everybody. God is enough.